This mic is all yours. Oops, you're muted.
Muted. Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here
Mic is
as
all yours.
always. I'm the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. And I have my two beautiful soul sisters with me here today. Myrna Skoller is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, which I love, love, love. It's such a great companion to A Course in Miracles workbook for students, along with quite a few other books. I know she's in the process of writing a book right now, which is so amazing. You're like a word wizard. How are you, Myrna?
Wonderful, as always. How about you,
Great.
Susan?
Yep, I'm great. And then we have Glorian that's here with us as well. How are you today, Glorian?
Wonderful. Also, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you and to anyone else that is in the room. I see Carrie, I see Karen, I see Dove, and of course Lynn, who's so wonderful, is here. If anyone wants to share, just let us know. And I'd love to hear any shares, any thoughts that anyone has on the subject matter, because I always listen to Course in Miracles for an hour or two before my talks here to remind me of the truth. And what I was listening to was the fact that we cannot reach heaven alone. We need each other to realize the truth of who we are. So this is just such an amazing platform for us to learn, to grow. I know for myself, I teach what I need to learn. And as we share, we strengthen the ideas of unconditional love that reside within our own mind. I will start with the introduction of my book, which I like to do. I write in Surrender to Joy. My passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection with all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. There is nothing to find in the world because there is no world. The world that we experience, the circumstances that we experience in this world are nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. So it's important to discipline our minds. It's important to connect to the truth of who we are. Each day, the morning is a very powerful time, to just still our mind and do whatever we need to do to remember our innocence. One of my favorite affirmations, as I recite often, is I embody the essence of innocence. It's, what I've been listening to too lately, in addition to Course in Miracles. Today, I listened to Course in Miracles on Audible. What I've been listening to this week is Buddhist YouTube videos. And it's so interesting. It's more of a new thought Buddhist teaching that I listen to. And it's so interesting how the Buddhist thought system really aligns with Course in Miracles, because the truth is the truth is the truth. On the Buddhist videos that I was hearing, it talks about how guilt impedes our growth, compassion allows us to flow forward. It talks about disciplining the mind, and it's just so empowering. Again, A Course in Miracles is so much more than intellectual, because as Myrna says, understanding is the booby prize. I've heard you say that, Myrna. To intellectually understand A Course in Miracles, I mean, I guess for me, it's part of the process, but you don't really feel the essence of God, which is unconditional love, which is pure happiness, which is pure joy intellectually. It's something that you need to just allow into your being, and something you need to align yourself with. You need to trust. It's about releasing any kind of guilt and embracing our own innocence. It's so when I'm plugged into my God socket, as I say, I feel very joyful. I mean, it's clear God's will for me is perfect happiness. And when I allow that happiness to enter into my being, I can flow, I can listen to God. I will to will thy will. Course in Miracles says wishing is not enough, but willing is what we are created to do. And it's not our will that can satisfy us, it's God's will. So when I am in my right mind, my will is the same as God's will. And that's the only thing that can bring me peace, love, joy, and happiness. When I'm sacrificing, I'm in ego territory. But when I'm blessing, when I'm extending God's joy and God's love to my brother, that's how I align my mind with his mind. And that's the only way I can be happy. There is no sacrifice in God. Thoughts, Myrna?
You mentioned before, understanding is the booby prize. That's not from me. I just reflect Werner Erhard. He was the founder of EST, and EST was one of the first teachings that came available for people to now get into the understanding, or the understanding is the booby prize, but to get into the notion, of who we really are, the truth of who we are, the connection to all that is. So I think it was really something that kind of opened up to a channel of other teachings. And I understand that phrase that, understanding is the booby prize, recognizing that, yeah, okay, I understand it. You read the Course, I can't imagine anybody reading the Course in Miracles and saying, I understand it, because you really don't understand it. You have to feel it. You have to know the essence of what it is trying to teach you, and how to embody that I'm not using the word understanding, that recognition that we are, as you say, a part of God, and by ourselves we're not becoming the greatness of all that we're given to be. We can't experience that alone. I've learned that through the Course in Miracles. So if anybody asks me what the Course in Miracles is about, I can say that it's changed my life, because I've become to understand that I live it. I don't just talk about it. It's not a matter of talking about something that you really are not feeling. And that's why I enjoy talking with you, Susan and Gloria, because it enables me to feel the Course, not to just talk about the Course. And whether it be through forgiveness, love, understanding. This is all related to today's lesson, as a matter of fact, which is lesson 163. There is no death. The Son of God is free. And that lesson tells us that we fear death. We fear it in so many ways, and it shows up where does it show up? In sickness, in lack of trust, concern for bodies, envy, all forms in which the wish to be as you are may not come to tempt you. All such thoughts are but reflections of the worshiping of death as savior, as giver of release. So I guess what that is saying, I guess I have to really read further into it to be able to explain it that much better. But in essence, it tells me that all these things that the ego establishes within our thought system is away from God. Yeah.
Gloria?
Yeah, I really like that, Myrna. The whole idea is that, we don't understand it with perception. The ego is there to dissect and separate and take apart the thoughts and ideas. But as you said, we move into the experience of it, which is really knowledge. So the idea is to live it and become the embodiment of it, but not in the body, but in our consciousness, which is our true body. And I love what Susan shared. About the morning being so powerful. And it so is important to me to start my day off that way, communing and tabernacling with spirit and just recognizing that presence, bringing myself into presence and then asking and allowing that to direct and guide me. And where Susan mentioned about listening to the Buddhist concepts and what have you. And the idea is beyond all of these concepts, religions, is the light of God, is the truth. So truth will correct all errors in my mind. The idea is that we're listening to what's real beyond the concepts. And I did lesson 164 today. Now we are one with him who is our source. And that's what that lesson is actually saying, that, we're looking for the light beyond all concepts. We're choosing through our relinquishment of judgment, which is forgiveness, to recognize the reality, the Christ that's revealed beyond the concepts that are obscuring that light from our awareness. So that's our job. That's our constant job, is to, see the face of Christ in everyone and everything. And we can only do that if we're using Christ's vision with which to see, not the ego. And you were talking about joy, Susan, and it came up in our reading before about rejoicing. And once we recognize that, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Perfect happiness is living and being, allowing the joy that I am to express through me. So we can rejoice in the joy of being, and through the acceptance of love as we were created. And that's what we're here to do, to accept that love and then be extensions for that love of God, ministers of God, which is the acceptance and the extension of creation. And that's really a big thing. If we really think about that's what we are here to do. I am amongst the ministers of God. I'm glad I have the means by which to recognize I am free. And you also mentioned something about taking every brother with us. And yeah, once we recognize that every brother is a concept, a projection from our mind, there we go, tying it into what we were just talking about. It's our responsibility to see the face of Christ beyond these concepts that we've projected from the false identification of the false mind. So yeah, that's it. We're here to see the face of Christ in everything. Thanks.
Yeah, beautifully said, Myrna, Glorian, beautifully said. Thank you. Um, yeah, to see the face of Christ in my brother is how I remember who I am. Uh, Course in Miracles tells us that we have two choices at each and every moment. We can listen to spirit or we can listen to ego, and the two thought systems are diametrically opposed. Listening to the Holy Spirit or to Christ brings peace to our mind, and listening to the ego brings anxiety, brings uh, brings sadness, brings anger, brings all fear-based emotions to us. So it only makes sense to listen to the Holy Spirit as often as possible. The ego tries to project its guilt onto other people in order to get rid of it. However, this just does not work, because when we project our guilt onto other people, what happens, we exacerbate the guilt within our own mind. It's like a boomerang. We try to get rid of it, and I think for a split second, we feel better. But then what ends up happening is the boomerang turns around, it comes back, it hits us in the head, and it hurts even worse. So what the ego is trying to get us to do does not work. It just keeps us in a state of angst. It just keeps us in the darkness. You know, the Holy Spirit feels the love within our own mind, within our own heart. And the only thing it wants to do is share that love, extend that love. And, you know, the reason we need each other to get back to heaven is because we don't know how much we have within us until we give it away. So as I align myself with the right mind and I allow myself to be a conduit for miracles, you know, and I extend God's love to my brother, I remember how much love is inside of me. So, yeah, I mean, when I listen to the teachings of A Course in Miracles, I can just feel my vibration raise itself, you know, because the truth is so beautiful, and the truth is so simple too. It's such a simple truth. You know, it's not easy because the world is run on the egoic thought system, but it is simple because only the love is real. Um, and I think A Course in Miracles is also very clear that we need to bring the darkness to the light for healing purposes. I mean, this is a classroom. You know, the world is here to teach us. So again, a lot of times when we do get triggered, it's because there is something within our unconscious mind that has not yet healed itself, and it's coming to the surface in order to be healed. And I mean, this just happens to me all the time, you know. Yesterday, I had a particular job at a liquor store, and there was a few challenges with this particular job. Um, I I needed, according to what the agency that hired me wanted, is I needed to be set up next to an electrical outlet in order to plug a piece of equipment into the electrical outlet. So when I got to the job, I asked the manager to be set next to an electrical outlet, and he basically said there was no electrical outlet that I could be next to, so I could not use this piece of electrical equipment. You know, then I called the manager to let her know what was going on. She proceeded to somehow, or at least the way I took it, blame me for the store not having an electrical outlet. And then I find myself getting very defensive. Now, I don't know if she really even was blaming me, but all I know is I felt myself getting very defensive, and I got very panicky, and I had a lot of stress in my heart. And again, I don't know if she actually was blaming me, but it seemed as though she was blaming me. And I realized there's just something in me whenever I feel criticized, I just, I guess, start to panic or stress out, or I mean, and this is I guess something in my unconscious mind that I need to release. So I'm looking at it, I'm praying for healing, I'm giving it to God. I feel much better today, but I notice whenever I feel criticized in any way, whenever I feel like I'm not, doing a perfect job, there's something inside me that reacts. And I think this is something, from the past that is in the process of healing itself. And it's about recognizing what we need to learn, because this is a classroom, and then giving it to God, allow ourselves to heal. And yeah, so any thoughts, Myrna?
Yeah, my question is, what happened? Did you manage without the electrical outlet?
I
Did you
did. Yeah. I
yeah.
managed without the electrical outlet. It was an ice crusher that needed to was supposed to be plugged into the electrical outlet, but I didn't use the ice crusher. I still sold all the bottles of liquor that the store had to sell, and it didn't affect the event in any way. But mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting because had you not even stressed, it would have worked out anyway. So you really could have avoided all that stress. That's what trust is all about. Just trust.
Mhm.
And the manager that you spoke to was really, as we were talking, that, we look to blame, we look to project, our guilt onto someone else, and that's exactly what she was doing. So, that was an interesting scenario, that you were describing. But to me, it works out that everything works out. I know judging from my own life, there's nothing that doesn't work out. If you just let it go. I mean, and that took years of practice, years of torment. And like you said before, the idea is to see the face of Christ in our brother. And what came to my mind is that I started seeing the face of Christ in my brother only when I myself saw the face of Christ. In other words, I saw the face of Christ. And once I saw the face of Christ, I was able to then recognize it in my brother. But that was such an astounding revelation for me, because once understood that that was the whole thing in a nutshell, really. Because once you can see that, then you realize, what is there to worry about? What is there to stress about? This To see the face of Christ in your brother is to really see it in yourself, and that's a reflection of who you are. So I love to reflect the feeling that I'm getting when I can behold my brother as myself, to love my brother as myself, to know that the Christ within exists in everyone, and there's nothing left to question. It's all about knowing ourselves, knowing our purpose, knowing the reality of who we are, seeing it in everything I look at. And it illuminates the feeling inside of me, literally illuminates when I get that. I get it, I see it, and everything is just unfolding just the way it's supposed to be unfolding. So it's the Christ within, the connection to that amazing reality that enables me to see it in the world. That's it.
Gloria?
Yeah, wow, I really like that what you shared there, Myrna. That's the idea of letting all things be as they are, letting them be as they are on this level, and then recognizing it when I'm truly letting them be as they are, it's always perfect. So it's that willingness to not judge and not make those projections from my self-imposed limiting thoughts on what's there, recognizing it's my responsibility to allow that to be reinterpreted by spirit. And I think it always comes back to, for me, asking and listening. I'm not only asking, receiving, but actually being willing to follow the guidance given to me. And I like the story that you shared, Susan, because it's important to recognize that all of these things are triggers, and it's always triggers from the past. And so if we think that we're being criticized, we're actually saying we're being judged, which every single thought, if we recognize that, every single thought of duality, good, bad, right, wrong, is a judgment. So when we look at that and we say, okay, now I'm the one doing the judging, so I'm willing to look at what's coming up for me, make the pause, wait, listen, and then judge not, which is true forgiveness. Then that leads us back to what Myrna was saying about, let all things be exactly as they are, and recognizing that they're all perfect for my unfoldment. And then I can recognize everything as the gift that it is, teaching me that I'm not what I think that I am. And when you were talking about the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit, that higher self, that higher mind, sees what we see, but believes it not. So it recognizes the innocence, the guiltlessness, and the sinlessness. But that's because our mind is aligned with that higher self that's first willing to accept that as what I am. So giving and receiving are one in truth. So we have to see our innocence and our guiltlessness, and as we were created, our true worth, which is established by God. So the face of Christ, and we're then aligned with that Christ mind, recognizing that guilt, any form of guilt, is listening to that fearful voice of the ego, and it's always going to tell us we're not enough. I need, I want, I'm not worthy. And then when we choose to align our mind with spirit, we come from that place of I have and I am. And, I think it comes down to the willingness to question every single thought that comes into our mind, recognizing that it is division, it is separation, and then asking the question, who told you? Like where he says in the Garden of Eden, who told you you were naked? This fearful voice, this voice trying to tempt us to remain in dualistic thinking. But this is not the true voice. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, the guilt is of the ego.
I think Karen has a hand up.
Oh, Karen?
Hi, Myrna. Hi, Myrna. Hi, Susan
Karen.
Michelle. Hi, everybody. I didn't want to interrupt you, Susan Michelle, if you wanted to finish talking first.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for telling that story. I love when you share your experiences. I can always relate to you. And what always comes to me, and recently this has been coming to me a lot, from what is forgiveness in the very first question in the workbook. The very first sentence, he says, forgive your brother for what he has not done to you. That is so helpful. It's so helpful to me because I'm recognizing that my brother didn't do anything to me. This is my projection. This is all about my unhealed guilt. That's what we're talking about here. And when I can really recognize that and see that, and I'm not discounting your experience at all, because this is how we learn. And our special relationships are very valuable here for us to learn these lessons, but really helpful for me to remember that what I thought my father did to me has not occurred. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, I was gonna comment on the guilt that I felt, when I had this little lesson yesterday. It's guilt that comes up in me. And as Glorian brought up too, the guilt is of the ego. Guilt is when we feel as though we're not worthy. We're not worthy of God's love. And that guilt tends to come up at times in my life. And it definitely came up yesterday for that little trigger. I started to blame myself for not confirming ahead of time that there was an electrical outlet. I started just to blame myself for not doing things properly, and whenever and I mean, sometimes we do make mistakes. I mean, that's part of being here. If we were perfect, or if we were enlightened, we probably wouldn't be in this world, but we all have some guilt still within our unconscious mind, which is why we're here. We're here to heal it. We're here to release it. We're here to connect to the truth of who we are. I mean, I do believe A Course in Miracles is a non-dualistic thought system. However, this earthly classroom is based on contrast. That's very apparent to me. When I'm in my right mind, the only thing I feel is the love, but in this world, there is light and there is darkness. I opened the Course in Miracles here to chapter 13, The Guiltless World. And there's a paragraph that just kind of popped out. I have it highlighted.
What page, Susan? You have the page?
It's on page 251 in my book. Yep, 251, chapter 13, The Guiltless World, Roman numeral 6, Finding the Present. It's the third paragraph. And what Jesus writes here is he writes, "This darkness is in you. The Christ as revealed to you now has no past, for he is changeless, and in his changelessness lies your release. For if he, with a capital H, is as he was created, there is no guilt in him. No cloud of guilt has risen to obscure him. And he stands revealed in everyone you meet because you see him through himself. To be born again is to let the past go and look without condemnation upon the present. The cloud that obscures God's Son to you is the past, and if you would have it past and gone, you must not see it now. If you see it now in your illusions, it has not gone from you, although it is not there." So for me, this is speaking about releasing the guilt, and to be born again, we're just letting any mistakes from the past go, whether I made the mistake, whether my brother made the mistake. We're just letting the past go, and we are looking without condemnation upon the present. So what we are doing is we're seeing the innocence in our brother, and by seeing the innocence in our brother, we feel the innocence within ourselves. So it's and I think when we look upon our brother without condemnation, I really think, since all minds are joined, like our brother can sense that as well. And that's what allows our brother to feel his own innocence. Because as God looks at me, I mean, God looks through the eyes of forgiveness. God doesn't need to forgive me because there is no condemnation in God. So he always sees, since God sees himself as totally and completely innocent, he sees me as totally and completely innocent. He doesn't hold any of my sins against me because he can't even see my sins. It's like they don't even exist. So since I was created in the image of God, and living in the mind of God is the only thing that can make me happy, for me to see the innocence in my brother is bringing peace to my own mind. So it's like a win-win. When I see the innocence in my brother, I feel the innocence in my own mind. When I see the Christ in my brother, I feel the Christ in my own mind. And this is what elevates my frequency and brings me closer to heaven. And as I said before, we need each other to get back to heaven. What is heaven? Heaven is a state of mind, is complete and total innocence. There is no sin, there is no guilt. It's just a state of mind of unconditional love. And when I reside in this mind that is filled with unconditional love, I am at one with my creator, and I am feeling the true essence of who I really am. And it's just such a beautiful place to tap into. And it's so simple. It's so simple to get there. All we need to do is just surrender to the joy. As my book states, surrender to the joy. The joy is who we truly are. God's will for me is perfect happiness. And there is no sacrifice in God. There is no guilt in God. Right, Myrna?
So completely true. I mean, because it's undeniable. What you're saying is it's just undeniable. And what you were reading, what jumped out to me in what you were reading is to be born again is to let the past go and look without condemnation upon the present. You know, that one little sentence can change your whole life when you think about it, really, because the Course aims to teach us that we need to forget the past. Forget the past. The past seems to be so much a part of what the ego constantly projects, constantly clouds our mind with. You know, our whole world is the ego. I think if it wasn't for teachings like the Course in Miracles and, like you said, Buddhism, and they all lead to the same place anyway. But if it wasn't for that, I think we would probably be stuck in the ego thought system forever because we wouldn't know there's another way. So the Course was such a tremendous release because it does release you from guilt. It's not just in this lifetime. I mean, perhaps it's been eons before this that we accumulated the guilt, and we're still trying to work it out. And maybe this is the time and place that we're given to work it out, so that we can just be free of it for the future. And I mean future eons later. And the idea is to be born again, to be born again. And I can attest to that. And I think most of us who are students of the Course in Miracles can attest to that. That's why we stay with it. That's why we talk about it. That's why we try to teach it. That's why we tune into it. It's a love that is instilled with us because once we're enabled to allow the past to go, it's only God that's helped us through that by laughing, helping us laugh at the past, helping us see that it's so insignificant, and we spend so much time nurturing the past when really all we need to do is stay in the present. And it's not just a matter of knowing it; it's a matter of practicing it. It takes practice, that when some undesirable thought strikes at us, causing guilt, it's really, it's a step back because you start to feel what the guilt is like, and it's not a pleasant feeling at all. And it's I think what happened recently to me was when one of those thoughts occurred to me, a past thought, and I felt so guilty about it. And Jesus said to me loud and clear, "Have I ever judged you?" I mean, it was such an amazing thing to hear. Have I ever judged you? And the only answer I could come up with was no. No. When have I ever been judged by God? Ever? So it teaches me too that if I'm not judged by God, then why do I need to be judgmental in any way? So I'm constantly, even now, after 35 years of studying the Course in Miracles, still seeing how much I'm gaining every day. And I see it in the results. Right, Glorian?
Absolutely, Myrna. I mean, this course is a gift given us by Jesus that really releases us from fear when we're willing to allow it to work through us. And we look at the thoughts and ideas and surrender them and allow the Christ to come in and do that purification. And I like what you shared there, Myrna, because Jesus tells us we can't actually judge our retreats or our advances, because that we're doing with the ego mind. But the idea is to recognize that everything is perfect for our unfoldment. And everything is leading us back to the remembrance of what we are. And I like what Karen shared there, what my brother did not occur. And to the ego here, it seemingly occurred. So once we recognize that all of the special relationships that have to be made holy, the special relationships come from that projection of unresolved guilt and fear that we still entertain in our mind. And when we make them holy, we're recognizing our oneness where nothing could ever be separate and apart from that. So Jesus is asking us to accept the atonement for ourselves, that at-one-ment for ourselves. And then we're given this gift of the atonement process, which is that undoing of fear and guilt. And we do that through our workbook lessons and, dying daily to the false concepts of the personal sense of self. So really what comes in is that we recognize that we are still here. It is a teaching, learning situation. So we're gentle. We embrace everything that we seemingly see as that opportunity to change our mind about it. It's telling us what we think so that we can make another choice. And I think we can sum the entire thing up in the title of Susan's book, Surrender to Joy, because that's really what we have to do. We are joy, we are love, we are light, we're all of these things, and we have to surrender that false sense of self, that ego voice of unresolved guilt and fear. And that's really what it is, unresolved guilt and fear that we're still projecting out there so that we can make another choice and move into that self-realization. And for me personally, anyone here is still in thought, which is that duality. And we recognize on the level of form, there's duality, but we use the form to get to the content, which is the true ideas of what we truly are. And so everything's perfect and it's always unfolding perfectly. So, we're gentle but vigilant, and we rest in the assurance that God will win out. The experience of what we are is the only reality, and that as we continue to be willing to let these things go, we move into that changeless dwelling place, which is the certainty of God. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Beautiful.
you. Karen?
Yeah, thanks, Gloria, and thanks, Myrna. Thanks, Susan, Michelle. I love what everyone's sharing, and what Myrna was sharing about we have to practice. It is so important. We have to practice forgiveness, practicing observing our thoughts, practicing being gentle. And when Susan, Michelle, when you shared that you blamed yourself, that is exactly what the ego wants us to do. The ego doesn't know how to be gentle. The ego wants to blame. The ego wants to, wants us to suffer. And that's why the ego does speak first and loudest. But you were able to get through it, and you were able to change your mind. And I love what you read. And what you read, the part where he says, let's see, hold on a minute, my mind just went blank. Oh, to be born again is to let the past go and look without condemnation on the present. that was always one of my favorites. And I love that you read the whole paragraph. That's a great paragraph. And for me, it's reminding me that the purpose of the holy instant is to suspend judgment entirely. And that is the holy instant. The holy instant, there's only right now. And it is not easy. I'm telling you, it is not easy. But when we join together like this and we remind each other of the truth and hearing the truth, it makes it easier. I shared earlier, you know, I woke up, I had a really bad day today. I mean, I wasn't feeling well at all. And I was in a bad funk. And I went to Glorian's meeting and I really felt a lot better. I was so uplifted just being around the truth, just listening to the truth. And I came on here just being around the truth. Just, I need to be reminded, you know, when I get like that, the ego can really be strong sometimes. When you're going through physical stuff, for me, that's where it can affect me mentally when I allow it to. So I'm just so grateful for the holy instant and to remember to practice that and seeing the face of Christ in my brother and remembering God. So I love all these reminders. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Karen. Yeah, I always use that word funk. You use the word I like to use, funk, because there's so many times in my life I feel like I'm so connected to Christ consciousness, and then all of a sudden I experience a day of funkiness, you know? I guess that's me living in the world of contrast. But then it passes, and I can relate to just surrounding yourself with people that are talking about the truth. That was such a good decision you made to go on to the Gather for A Course in Miracles and start listening to the truth. Because I know when I can do that, it's just such a healthy choice. We need to be reminded of uh, the power of love. I need to be reminded of, you know, the thought system of A Course in Miracles as often as possible. And yeah, thank you for commenting on that paragraph that just kind of jumped out at me. You know, to be born again is to let the past go and look without condemnation upon the present. I mean, only uh the only person that holds us accountable for past mistakes is ourself, and it's definitely not our higher self, it's our lower self. And I think what keeps us in the muck, what keeps us in the darkness, is the guilt that we choose to hang on to. I mean, in this lifetime, I have experienced numerous depressions, and I can remember that suicidal depression that happened when I was 20 years old. Um, Basically, what happened to my mind is I just kept like beating myself up, and I just kept on focusing on the guilt. You know, I learned the lessons my soul needed to learn, and I got to the other side of it, but I just held on to the guilt and I kept beating myself up, and I don't go to that extreme now, but I do experience more minor episodes of ego-induced guilt, just like I did at that job yesterday, you know. But I pray, I do my best to show compassion for myself. And it passes. I mean, the funk, the anxiety passes. Uh, and then I think it was Glorian that brought up the present moment, you know, which is I did lesson 164 today as well. Now are we one with him who is our source? And then the first two lines read, "What time but now can truth be recognized? The present is the only time there is." I mean, it's so simple, but it's so powerful, right? The present is the only time there is. Like we don't need to beat ourselves up for past mistakes. We don't even really need to dwell on the good times in the past, really. I mean, it's about being fully open to the present. It's accepting the present, accepting everything in our life exactly as it is. That brings peace to my mind. You know, I have this great affirmation, another great affirmation that I like to say that stills my mind. What if everything is just perfect right here, right now? And that's all about accepting the present exactly as it is. I saw Karen's hand raised. Were you going did
Yeah,
you have some?
you basically said exactly what I was going to say, Susan. You know, even if the present moment seemingly sucks, which it did for me this morning, it wasn't like really about bringing the past into, it was just the present moment. I couldn't be happy in the present moment because of what I was physically experiencing in that present moment. So it's exactly what you said, accepting all things exactly as they are, welcoming it, turning it around, loving it, being gentle with myself, embracing it, turning all that around is the miracle. So it's definitely possible. It's such like, it's exactly what Myrna said. It's practicing. So you said it. You said it exactly. It's definitely acceptance. And Dove shared recently that Ken Wapnick said that acceptance is the most important word in the course. So thank you.
Yeah, because again, when we resist something, that's what creates angst. As Carl Jung says, what you resist persists. It's about like accepting whatever is happening right here, right now. I mean, again, even in the Buddhist teachings that I've been listening to this week, even if there's pain in the now, just to accept the pain will lead us to the other side of the pain. So just to own whatever we're feeling right here, right now, I think is very empowering. Myrna?
Yeah, looking at the guilt, chapter 13 again, the guiltless world. And what strikes me here too is the function of time. And I'm just going to read the first couple of lines because again, that also jumped out at me. And now the reason why you were afraid of this course should be apparent, for this course is a course on love because it is about you. You have been told that your function in this world is healing and your function in heaven is creating. The ego teaches that your function on earth is destruction and you have no function at all in heaven. So you think about it, the two opposite, mindsets. You got the ego, and you got the part of you, the mind of God, the other side of the mind that is really divided in two. It's the ego and this love, God, and so forth. And and that's really what it's telling me, that the use of time can be used to learn, to know yourself, to look at love, look at healing, look at understanding, and as your book relates the word joy. I mean, all these things really can be learned in time, and that's the best use of time. The ego's use of time is the guilt, and where does the guilt come from? I think it's ingrained in us from early childhood. The guilt, I was always made to feel guilty as a young child, so to sort of release myself from that practice of thinking that that's who I was, I had to learn the other side of myself, which is the side I love, the side that connects me to God, the side that connects me to you and you and you and you. It's just a miraculous discovery of self. And the word practice comes to mind again because you need to really absorb it by practicing it. Yeah. So that's what I
Gloria?
get from this.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm done. Hi, Dove. By the
Gloria?
way,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
think
just
it
want,
goes.
oh, I'm sorry. I
No, go
see.
ahead. I didn't know you. I thought you were done, Myrna, but if
No,
you're
no,
not,
I just
continue.
wanted to mention to Doug.
Uh-huh.
Doug, I know that you asked about Rob Schwartz before I forget to tell you. The June 22nd, he has a workshop that he spoke to me. It's supposed to be really a nice workshop. So if you want to look into it, all you have to do is bring up his website, which is your soul's plan, and it'll tell you what that particular workshop is about. So I meant to tell you this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm glad you shared that, Myrna, because I would be interested in looking at that as well.
Mhm.
So thanks for that. I think we really can just sum it up in saying that, if we are willing to accept what I am in the eternal now, which is the holy instant, and of course, yes, it's practice, 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 and we go deeper, deeper, and deeper. And we accept that what Jesus tells us, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. So I'm willing then I'm accepting through the willingness not to resist, but I move into the open-mindedness to be willing to see it differently. And that's really, to me, the whole thing is recognizing that I'm in temptation and being willing to let that go in acceptance of what is real. But it does take practice, continued practice, and we go deeper and deeper, and these layers peel off the onion. And, in today's lesson, if you go down a little bit, just one sentence, we will not judge today. We will receive but what is given us from judgment made beyond the world. Our practicing today becomes our gift of thankfulness for our release from blindness and from misery. So that's it, where the willingness not to judge, the relinquishment of judgment is the forgiveness. And in that not judging, we're resting in God. And that's what we are. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So this was really wonderful. Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you,
Yeah,
Karen.
that was a
Thank you,
great practice.
Dove, everyone who was here. It's now 2:00. And as A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Thank God for that. And I'm so grateful for this Gather for A Course in Miracles platform. It's just so wonderful. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone who's participated. Susan, Michelle, who's been with us for several years and has always been so constant in your sharing here. So grateful for you both, Myrna and Gloria and Karen and Dove and everyone else who's been here. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and stop the YouTube.